The COVID task force, just the beginning of what a Biden-Harris administration might look like. And this morning, we learned exactly what President-elect Biden plans to do on his first day of office.
First up, he says rescinding President Trump's travel ban on several Muslim-majority countries, along with reinstating the DACA program and rejoining the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Agreement. Well, joining us live to talk more about what comes next is Portland State University political science professor Chris Shortell. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, of course.
So, Chris, we're seeing now, the president refusing to concede at this point, but what other options does he have? Is there any path here, any scenario with which you could see these results being overturned?
There is not. None of the legal cases that the Trump campaign has brought thus far have introduced any kind of meritorious evidence. They've all been dismissed. He's currently 0 for 10 on his lawsuits. And even if there were individual instances of ballots being thrown out, which there have not been, that's simply not going to change the outcomes. The leads that Biden has are in the tens of thousands in each of the states that are even remotely close. And that's just not within reaching room for a recount or any kind of a lawsuit to have success.
Yeah. Now we're hearing that the head of the office that's responsible for coordinating that transition between President Trump's staff and President-elect Biden's staff is not signing off on the results of the election yet. So, what kinds of complications, if any, can that lead to in terms of getting the Biden team really up to speed and functional?
I think that's going to be the thing that slows things down a little bit in terms of getting office space to work in, but it's more a matter of convenience than anything else. And the head of the General Services Administration has until they ascertain the likely outcome of the election. That's always been when the networks call it. But certainly by the time states start certifying their results, that is going to become increasingly clear that Biden has in fact won the presidency.
So how different is this election year when you look at the timeline of the election officially becoming certified? I mean, we saw states taking longer to count all of the ballots, some of the states that, weren't necessarily ready to deal with some of the mail-in voting that we've seen in elections past. But are we on any kind of different timeline in terms of the time it takes to actually officially certify the election?
No, we should be right on track for getting that done. The real delays that we saw were just getting enough ballots in and getting those counted enough to project accurately the final outcomes. There are always ballots that are still being counted at this point in an election, and that happens before the states certify their results. The very first certification that's required is Delaware. That's a week after the election. Most states certify their results anywhere from 3 to 4, even 5 weeks after the election itself. That's not unusual. It's just that we aren't usually paying attention to that because it doesn't matter. Things are moving forward with the transition. And that's true in this instance as well, except that there may be some delays in terms of the incoming Biden administration getting access to briefings from top Trump administration officials.
Okay, so it sounds like delays with the transition. I mean, how bumpy of a road could it be before that, was it January 20th date?
Sure. I mean, it could be bumpy. That is the reality of it. President Trump is not known for conceding, and I think it's unlikely that his administration is going to be as welcoming to the incoming Biden administration as the George H.W. Bush administration was to President Clinton, the Clinton administration to George W. Bush, the Obama administration to the Trump administration. And that just makes it a little bit more difficult to hit the ground running as a Biden administration. But a lot of what they need to know, they already have. And so they will be able to do that. It just makes it a little bit harder on the first day to show up and have to, figure out exactly where things are at.
Yeah, well, it certainly sounds like President-elect Biden wasting no time in getting his message out to the American people this week. So we will certainly be